Welcome to the speaker interview session of AI Test Fest 2026, Gaurav.
Mhm.
Thank you for joining. And my name is Rashmeet. Uh, so, just to reiterate, this is the second edition of AI Test Fest, which is being organized by ATA and Nagarro in Nagarro office on the 9th of May. And again, welcome to this speaker interview session. And I see a very interesting topic chosen by you, which is a unified framework for quantifying trust for AI agents.
Yeah.
So, first of all, we would like to know more about you and then also that why you chose this topic.
Okay, so myself, Gaurav Goyal, I have been working as an SDET and DevOps engineer for close to 5 years now. From the beginning of my career, right, I have set up many testing frameworks for unit tests, integration tests, end-to-end tests, as you might be aware of. And now with the changing time, right, people are using AI more and more. We see that there are a lot of products using AI agents in their day-to-day workflows. So there is a very strong need in testing these agents. So when we talk about testing via AI, right, there are two things. It is either you use AI to, test your product, and the other thing is that there is a AI feature in your product which you want to test. So this is about the latter half. So even in our product, we have a lot of AI agents, and we needed a framework to be able to test the accuracy, and to be able to quantify the performance of AI, and if it is useful for the customers. So that is why we came up with this framework, and that is the topic, of the talk also, of what this framework is about, how it works, why this is useful, and then how can other people also use the same idea, and uh, and use it in their own products and day-to-day activities when dealing with AI.
Okay, that's good to know. And I also see that you mentioned that people should move from vibes-based testing. So what do you mean by moving from vibes-based testing to measurable trust?
Okay, so uh, in the early days when AI came up, right, we did not really know what to test or how to test our AI, and it was all about, if our AI is responding correctly with whatever questions we asked. It used to be manual efforts. There was nothing much to be automated initially, until very recently, right? So all that testing that we used to do was like purely on the past experiences of not dealing with AI products, which we were trying to use in the new technology, and that didn't really fly well. It was not sufficient enough to test the AI agents. And that is why we needed a framework, a way to actually test what the result we are getting from AI. If the AI, for example, how accurate the AI result is, how consistent the AI results is. These things we cannot really test using the older, methodologies of testing that we used to do. So that is why, we call it vibes-based testing. We are moving out of it and coming and forming a framework which is actually for this use case.
Mhm. Okay,
Yeah.
that's nice. So I also see that you mentioned continuous trust framework. What is, in maybe a simple words for the audience to know, like what do we mean by continuous trust framework?
Okay, so continuous trust framework. Uh, so when you have a product, it is evolving every day. There are a lot of changes going every day, and for startup like ours, it is a day-to-day activity that we push a lot of changes daily. And that is why what we have done is the framework is set up in such a way that it continuously monitors the AI, responses. We have a dashboard which we, monitor on daily basis. We know if there is any accuracy dip in the pipeline on daily basis. So that is what we mean by, the continuous framework here, because this is a day-to-day thing for us. Any changes in the backend service, any changes in the AI agent, we know that what is changing. We know, we have numbers for each and every day. We know how much accurate the AI results were on the previous day, a day before, and all those things. So this is how we are, continuously monitoring the results, and if the accuracy or if any number goes down, we are making sure that the respective owners of that feature, of that AI feature, is on board and fixing it for the customers.
So there are, if I summarize it, there are mainly two portions of it. One is pre-production, second is post-production. Pre-production is basically making sure that the whatever changes are be happening on a day-to-day development basis, there's no regression before we push it to production. For that, this framework is very useful. It
Okay.
works against golden data set, which we know that, are the main use cases for a given agent. And we have to make sure that those are working as apt as we intended to be. And those are measured based on different role of the agent as well as the different application of the agent. Second piece to the same framework is once it is live into the production, you don't really have a control on how customers are using it. You don't have any insight on what is their feedback, right? So whatever you have tested so far, how much relevant is it? There is no correlation right now. So for that, we have this data flywheel piece that we
Okay.
set up like LLM as judge on the production
Hmm. Hmm.
based on the criteria which we have for a given agent. We continuously measure them on a real time on a particular
Hmm.
sample rate. We get thumbs up, thumbs down, right? User indications, etc. We collect that information, anonymize it, use the similar patterns like a developer or uh, owner would be responsible to make sure that this feedback is heard on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Go and anonymize, update the same, golden data set on a regular cadence so that we have the full cycle
So can
and
I
we
maybe,
can
I mean, if
improve.
I understood that correct, that is basically a continuous improvement cycle that, we are running with the AI. So we taking live
Yes.
feedback, we feeding it to the system, and then, basically it goes back and improves. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you guys think that, currently the teams who are using AI to do test generations, what should they
Mm.
focus on while
So,
testing?
so there are two aspects of it. That what are you testing is really important. For example, nowadays, what is your product? For most of the companies, your product has become some sort of AI agent, multi-agent, or some way of interacting with AI in the backend. So on those like there are multiple pieces which you can actually test and define your user journeys to figure out what are the testing layers you want to identify. So end-to-end testing, user journey testing are still relevant, but how do you actually measure the user journey or test the user journey has changed in this world. So only relying on static level of verification doesn't fly anymore. No matter what your use case is, you have to use AI to test AI in some way, shape, or form. With AI, the problem is that it can hallucinate, it can diverge, it is flaky. So, how you can control it, measure it, and make your day to day decision based on that is the key to be relevant in this world and actually contribute quality aspect of it. So for that, the this initiative I think really helped. And overall, the quality land in this world is basically identifying, a perfect data set for your use case. Have an evaluation on top of it so that you know what you are measuring, what role you are measuring for, and what is important to you for this particular use case, and gauge the quality based on that. Because now there is no true or false answer when things
Yeah.
are auto generated, etc.
So, in your experience, what were some of the common issues that you saw practically, while doing your testing, maybe for the projects that you were working on? Any critical issues that were ignored by AI and that made you think that,
So like let's take an example of the chatbots. Like I think most companies has that, right, to interact with your system in some shape or form, and
yeah.
that is basically free flow of text, free flow of documentation, etc. Like you can upload any document PDF, anything, right? And user can actually ask any weird question, have the reference to the context, which is way before, which you might not be, passing to your LLM layer. So we had found lot of, hiccups around that. Some of the things we were not able to capture in-house, given that the way actually users have chose to interact was not, there is no like one pattern to it. And without this framework, it was becoming hard for us to even understand the user patterns, etc. So your customer feedback for the product would be that not usable, but our test would say that, we still have like 80% accurate, like 80% tests are passing, 70% tests are passing. So your current state does not reflect to the customer sentiment, and you'll not be able to identify what is the pain point until and unless you actually understand the question patterns, because they'll just come and say that this question has failed, but if you try to replicate without the proper context, you'll not be able to actually see what went wrong, because you don't have the context, you just have one question.
Yeah.
So that was the main problem. And to answer those things, I think we came up with this framework and try to address it, add more debuggability, and have like a layer which we can trust upon to say that what our user sentiment is on a day-to-day basis.
All right. And one last question, like what is one simple step that teams can take to make their AI systems more reliable?
It is to set eval, in my opinion.
Sure.
And even setting up eval is equally important. Like nowadays, what I'm seeing, pattern is that when you have actually a use case coming from the PM, nowadays PM are expected to understand the sentiment behind that agent and come up with the basic metrics of what should be evaluated, because that would be the user generated eval. There would be evaluation regarding the technical aspect of it, like how many tools you have integrated with that agent, what are the permutation combination possible. You'll be coming up with all different sorts of test plan. But in my opinion, more and more we should make sure that our requirements are becoming richer and richer, understands how your system should be evaluated from the day zero rather than having it as an aftermath.
Good. All right. So thank you so much for taking your time out. And once again, welcome to AI Test Fest, which is on the 9th of May in Nagarro office. So we'd like to see you there. And thank you once again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No worries. I
Thank
just
you.
have one question, Rashmi. I think I have double checked with some of the members, but I won't, like, I am not located in India right now and I won't be able to travel. Let me know if there is a way for me to join remotely. Otherwise, Gaurav will definitely be there
Yeah.
and can drive the session.
Sure. I'll have to discuss this with the team. Let me
Yeah.
see what we can do for you. Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Gaurav and Yesha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.